Hello, my name is Chet Haas. I'm a consultant in the technical conference catering industry, and today I wanted to talk about food for thought, or the history and the data behind conference catering. Back in the old days, technical conferences used to serve sumptuous banquets, fantastic food, and people would wait in line for this food for an entire morning. They would line up in the morning, they would get their lunch, and then immediately after lunch, they would stand in line again, waiting for the food that would be served at the end of the day, probably at the after party for the conference. And all over the world, the same dynamic happened. People waiting in line for the food because it was really that good. The food was served on large banquet tables, even though it was very crowded in there. These people were elbow to elbow, but they're very excited about having this food because it was that good. Over and over, we saw this thing. Really good food, lots of beer, happy people. But the important thing is the data behind it. Now, when we look at the data, we can assign a quality rating to the kinds of food that was served at technical conferences. And what we saw was that people were more and more satisfied with the technical conference, the better and better the food was. But what we also saw in this very interesting diagram that comes up next is not just a curve for the red line. That is very interesting, but it's the shape of the curve that's interesting. There's a dramatic drop-off in retention as the food gets better. So if you serve really horrible food or even no food at all, there's very high retention among the conference attendees. But the better the food gets, the less they remember about what it was they were there to learn. And the major reason for this lack of retention is that people would have these fabulous meals and then they would go to the conference rooms and they would simply pass out. This gentleman was very excited to be in the room to learn about web technologies and just couldn't take it. 2 minutes later, he slumped over and had no idea what happened the rest of the day. And the next one I find most tragic. This was a lab in which this gentleman was very excited about learning this new collaborative technology. And within a minute, he'd passed out on his laptop. And within a few seconds after this picture was taken, he actually drooled on the keyboard and shorted out the system and had to buy an entirely new one. One forward-thinking conference has done some research in this area, and they started with, of course, the first meal of the day. They said, what if we served a breakfast that nobody wanted? Now, you'll see there's a lot of food laid out on the table, but you'll also see that nobody is coming anywhere near it. They're all staying their distance and just pretending it's not there. Now, this person actually did decide to go over there, but he's not very happy with the options over there. This person is looking at the camera as if to say, are you kidding me? In fact, that is actually what he said. I was there at the time, and he said, are you kidding me? This person made the mistake of actually taking a bite and then didn't know what to do with it once it was in his mouth. And this person, it looks like he's taking a roll. What he's actually doing is putting it back. A few seconds before that, he had taken the roll, and then he got a whiff of it, and he just decided to put it back on the platter. Now, after the breakfast experiments were done, they decided to see what they could do about lunch, because that's really the major meal during the day at all these technical conferences. They said, what if we served soup that looked like butter? Now, this woman looks not terribly happy about this. She's going to try it. And these other people, they have it in their cups, but they're kind of stirring it around, waiting for something more tasty to magically appear somehow. This person looks very, very unhappy at this option, but he's going to attempt to eat it anyway. This person, it looks like he's taking some into his cup. What he's actually doing is ladling it from his cup back into the bowl. This person is just stirring around the soup, looking for something better in the bowl, or maybe wondering whether he should just flip the bowl over entirely and save everyone the effort. This person, again, ladling from the cup back into the bowl, just, I can't deal with this kind of soup. This person sort of spitting it quietly back into his cup. And then we move on to the salad course. And the salad course is interesting because they served a mix of pasta and seafood, but the trick was that you really couldn't tell which was which, and neither one of them really tasted like anything in particular. So in this one instance here, we had some coworkers here. One of them actually tried a bite and was really dismayed by the results and sort of couldn't believe them, told his coworkers about it. They're all looking suspiciously at it. And then they take a bite, and then they have to look at the ingredient list to try to figure out what went wrong in there. What is this thing in the salad? What does this taste like, and what was it supposed to taste like? Just shocked disbelief. And that was really the overall result from everybody. Is everybody just kind of moving the food around inside their strange packaging all day, just kind of wondering what is in this thing and why am I eating it? This person has a bite in his mouth, doesn't know what to do with it now that he's on camera. This person actually got angry at the photographer because he got confused and thought the photographer was part of the catering crew. These people, again, just sort of disbelief. Am I really supposed to eat this stuff? No, I don't think you are. Yes, they told me to. No, it can't be the case. Now, this is really the result they were driving at. What they wanted to see was nobody getting food whatsoever. So they got to a point by the end of the conference where they would serve this strange pasta seafood salad for lunch, and nobody wanted it. It was a fantastic result. And then finally, the coup de grace, they moved on to sandwiches. They said, what if we served sandwiches that nobody wanted? And they did so. This person took a bite, doesn't know what to do with it now. These people kind of angry about it. This person, very disgruntled. Did you try the sandwich? Yes, I did. It was horrible. What are we going to do about this? This person, again, very unhappy with the sandwich selection. This person thinks it's kind of a joke, but not quite sure. This person's sad at his selection. His friend is also sad. Look at that sort of shocked disbelief on the look of his friend at the table. Oh, did you take the sandwich? You really shouldn't have, he said. This person kind of angry. This person actually does think it's a joke. He thinks he's on candid camera, I think. I guess in a way he was, but not in the way that he thought. But he thought it was amusing because it was that bad. This person kind of unhappy. This person fairly disgruntled. This person wondering what to do about it. Who do I complain to? This person, again, still unhappy, still doesn't know what to do with his sandwich in his hand because he really doesn't want to eat it. These people, again, they think it's a joke. They think it's kind of funny that the food is so horrible. These people, very unhappy. This person on the right looking at where I could possibly get rid of this food that's currently in my mouth. This person, same thing. Now, this person, right after this picture was taken, he actually threw the sandwich at the cameraman. He was so unhappy with the food selection, and he thought the camera crew was responsible for it, and he wanted to take it out on someone. And this person actually did find the best result of all. He found a bowl to actually spit his lunch out into. I wanted to talk about the results from all of this. We, again, tracked some important data here, and we found that with the breakfast and the soup and the salad, each one of these sort of in increasing degrees raised the level of dissatisfaction with the attendees. But not until we got to the crab sandwich did we get to 100% dissatisfaction. But the interesting part here is the dissatisfaction exactly matched the amount of retention, which means that there was 100% retention by the people that actually had the crab sandwich. They were so unhappy with the meal, but they were so knowledgeable by the end of the conference. And I want to emphasize this point by making this blink a little bit. Now let's see some pictures of what happened at the conference after these foods were served. We see full room, sitting room only, on the stairs, of people in rapt attention. They are so excited about these web technologies that they're learning about at this conference. Here, the people are actually responsive enough to answer a poll. In this case, the speaker was asking who here had the crab sandwich. And the important point here is that most of the people did, but also all of them were awake enough to actually answer the question. Here's a lab, a collaborative environment, people working together and learning together because the food was so horrible. Again, full conference room, everybody awake and paying attention and learning. Another lab environment here. People really excited about learning after getting really horrible food that these people were very unhappy with. They were unhappy with the food, but you know what? They were awake. And I want to leave you with one final thought. It's that technical conferences are about feeding your developers with knowledge, not food. Thank you.